Good evening, everyone. I hope we're all doing well and we had a peaceful weekend to have managed to rest. So, thank you very much for taking your time to be part of this session uh, tonight. So, I believe the others are still busy. They'll join us later. If not, they will have to follow through the recording. So tonight I want to talk about the law of leverage, which is one of the broad subject because the law of leverage is applicable in various things. So this subject is one of the subject that I was studying on how successful people are building their empires because success has its own levels. So to reach the highest level, obviously you have to have systems that helps you to achieve that kind of a level, and one of the things that you need to have in your systems is understanding and applying the law of leverage. For an example, the guys who are most successful in their businesses, you will discover that they have the upper hand in the law of leverage by investing more in human capital. So when they invest more in human capital, it's no longer about that thing of saying maybe we have a certain position that we want to hire a person. They invest more in skillful people. So they know that maybe if they hire me in their company and then they say we'll be paying you 14 million annually, they are not looking for that 14 million. They are looking at the value that as an individual I'm going to bring in the company. So it's the law of leverage. So meaning what they are going to achieve within a space of a year. If I was not there, it could cost them years to achieve it. So then they have to push through me to leverage. So this is another level of dealing with business. And then you see these guys that their businesses are more successful. And I believe this is one of the reasons why most of the black businesses are not successful. I'm not saying all. We do have black excellence in the market, but most of our businesses, they don't reach this niche because we are still operating in the lower level of building things. We don't have systems. We just sometimes build for survival or be forced by survival to stick to the same ground for a very long time. So but tonight, in terms of this subject of the law of leverage, I want to be more on the issue of understanding how you can use debt to apply the law of leverage as you have studied the subject of debt. And I'm also going to use some figures which are more successful that I've seen using this law and become so successful. So what I want to start with is the issue of perspective, because we all have to come to this ground of neuroscience where the research agreed that life is all about the game of perspectives. It's all about how you perceive it, because how you perceive it determines how you're going to play it. So there are perspectives that all of us we have when it comes to money. Like all of us, we can behold the same note. Like you put a note, maybe it's 100 rand or 200 rand on the table. All of us will be beholding the same note, but our interpretation to that note won't be the same. Hence, our interpretation will always influence our decision, which is a perspective issue. So we have different perspectives when it comes to man, and there are different classes of individuals that I want to talk about, so that we'll be able to see how also debt affect us, because at the end of the day, most of us, we grew up in that space, so we're told that debt is bad, but we didn't bother to further investigate what do they mean when they say bad is debt, and what do they refer to. So okay, let me check the rest of message jumping in. Yvonne is saying, okay, I just want to say, just a minute. Yvonne is saying, I'm not sure it's my device. The volume is very low. I'm not sure, guys, if my volume on my side is, yeah, it's 100%. I'm sure. I don't know if you guys are also struggling to hear me clearly, but the camera is on, the volume is 100%. So maybe it's a device. Okay, thank you. So, But if indeed I'm very low, you can reflect, guys, that not as audible as I ought to be, then I will be able to see what to do. So I was talking about the issue of perspective when it comes to how we deal with things. Um, as I've said, that neuroscience have agreed based on the research that life is a game of perspective. So all of us who can behold the same note. You put the same 200 rand on the same table. You put the five of us in the same table. Our perspective won't be the same. We see the same note, but the interpretation is not the same. So the interpretation is going to influence the decision making. And our decision making are not just something that evolves out of space. Our decision making is the result of how we see things, and how we see things, it's the result of our background, we are coming from, and a lot of factors. So I just want to look at these three perspectives: how poor people behold money, or how do people see money, and how do middle class people see debt, I mean to say, and how do wealthy people see debt also. So I just want to put first on the screen, how do poor people see debt and interpret it. And so for the poor people, uh, uh, how they see debt and how they utilize it. So people with very limited income often experience debt as a survival tool. So these guys, most of the time when they engage in debt, they engage in those what you call consumable debts, which are for survival. So they may borrow to pay groceries, transport, rent, school fees, airtime, electricity, or emergencies. So because they have little savings and few assets, even small unexpected expenses can force them to borrow. So for the poor people, always build a multi-million company. I want to build, but sometimes you don't mean what you're saying, because you reach a certain level, you become comfortable, start to build a lifestyle around that. You start like everything is all about now I have arrived. So the mentality of saying I have arrived killed the potential which you have to go further. So guys, there are people who owns the means of production. They are greater, those guys, because they are not anxious like most of us who don't have the upper hand, the means of production. Because if I own a product, I still have to push to own the means of production in which the product comes from. So sometimes I become so comfortable because my company now is able to make at least 400K a month, 300K a month. Then I become so comfortable. I'm no longer thinking of saying, then how do I build this thing to the highest level? You know, I was so surprised when I see the value which that school called Curo was sold out, and how these guys they've pushed it to list it at the JSE. And I thought of it, I said this thing man started now. It's not a company that started long time ago. It's like a school started now. And then did that thing now they have built it to the level that is worth billions. And then they sold it around billions. And I was like, I look But if I sell the value of my stocks and then buy the property, I forfeited the opportunity of what? Of seeing growth into double sides. So these guys, they are using a sword which is cutting both sides. His holding is continuing to grow. And remember, most of these holdings that these guys have, they also pay dividends. So now he's having this holding that is holding as in the stock market, but also he have now the Twitter which he bought, which the Twitter is going to bring and germinate more income. So it's more cash flow. So these guys, that's why they will always beat you, because they understand how to leverage with debt. While we at the first level, we just borrow to survive. And we at the middle class guys, we borrow to look good. And they say we can't do that. We have to leverage these things. So what did they do? They used the advantage because they started like everyone else. No one was born like a million. Elon Musk never inherited that thing. If it was an inherited, it was something else. So he have to build it from the scratch. So he built it from the scratch and then build it that his portfolio now is capable to access bigger debt. And when it's capable to access bigger debt, that bigger debt gives him an advantage. So now he bought the Twitter, and then the Twitter is able to bring back the money. So you also look at how they pay him in his holdings. He never signed in to say pay me a paycheck every month. He signed that pay me in terms of um, shareholding. So they don't pay him as cash; they pay him as like in terms of shareholding. So the money which was supposed to be paid cash, to be paid as cash in him, it goes straight in terms of shareholding. So each and every year it gives him to own more of those holdings. So because if they're going to pay him in cash, that's why it's going to be subject to higher taxes. And he said, no, I don't want to go to that side of paying higher taxes. So for me to avoid this, remember, number one, if you have holdings at any company, okay, I see Zonisan. Okay, it's fine. Okay, I will give you a chance. Let me just subject this, and then I will open your mic and ask. If you have holdings, let's say you own shares at MTN, giving that example of 500,000, and then when you invested 200,000, but the value of your holdings grew up until they are in a level of 500,000. So it means 200,000 is the money I've invested, is the principal amount. And then 300,000 is the capital gain which you have gained. The thing is this, they cannot take something which you have never sold. So he understands that if I sell it, I put myself in a disadvantage. But if I hold it, I have an advantage because they can't tax me as long as I still hold it. I've never sold it. I still have it. So what I'm going to do, instead of selling it, I'm going to use it for my advantage, to always borrow against it. Okay, so Zoni, you can open your mic and ask, then able to proceed.
Hi, Pastor.
Hey,
Minjani.
I'm good.
My question is based on the dividends part,
Yes.
the dividends receivables and the dividends payables.